Hello, how you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome back to another session of Chattin on the Porch. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So if you haven't done it yet, give a thumbs up on your way through the front door, pull up a chair, pour yourself a cup of something, and we shall sit down and talk about the news. Because that's what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. You've been out there busting your butt all day long, trying to make that dollar so you can keep the spouse happy, the kids happy, the food on the table, the roof over your head, keep the bill collectors away from the door. You haven't had time to keep up with what's going on. That is why I am here. I am here to serve your need for the news. I am here to sniff out that which you ought to know about, let you talk about it and decide amongst yourselves one of two questions that you should answer. And the answers go like this. After hearing what we have to say on this channel, you could say to yourself, well, okay, that news didn't make sense. I'm glad he told me about that. On the other hand, you could listen to the news that we bring and go, oh my God, we're screwed. Could be either one. We'll let you figure that out. Anyway, again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to Chattin on the Porch. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. And we are here to help you. So, like I say, pull up a chair. Tell your friends, by the way. Send out a tweet, a Gettr. Back now. I'm back. That was very weird. Very, very weird indeed. I don't know what the heck was up with that. And now it's raining outside. It's very strange. It could be one of those nights, y'all. It could be one of those nights indeed. Anyway, as I was saying, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube. So please tell your friends, come on in, sit down, talk with us. Let's talk about the news. Let us figure out what is going on in the world, because it's been a crazy day, as you might otherwise expect. And oh my gosh, it is pelting down the rain all of a sudden. I don't know what it's like where you guys are living, but I've got this weird heat wave that has settled in, and it is crazy, just straight crazy. Anyhow, we're going to be all right. We're going to be just fine. So anyway, how's everybody doing today? Glad y'all back with us for the Tuesday night session of Chattin on the Porch. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. All right, let's get down to business. Glad to have y'all here. Oh, it is hot, hot, hot TBA. Yes. WWG1's here in the house. Robert Lowry, you're lurking. I'll let you lurk. Now, if you're making a sandwich while you're lurking, well, that's a whole different thing. But I'll still let you lurk. That's quite all right. Yeah, I was on Twitter today, and someone that I follow, a very attractive female, was leaned provocatively over this kitchen counter and said, what kind of sandwich can I make you? And I thought, keep it clean, Brian. Keep it clean. Don't. I did. I kept it clean. I said, turkey and rye? Anyway. All right. It's Tuesday night. It is actually, like I said, it's raining where I am. Kind of crazy. That's the thing about a humid summer. You just never know when a thunderstorm's going to pop up, and I've got one coming down right now. Really kind of weird feeling. But anyway, is she a future ex Mrs. Trippett? Well, yeah, she might be. She might be. No, it was not Bobert. WWG1. It was not Lauren Bobert. Oh, but a boy can dream. Anyway. Anyway, y'all know me way too well indeed. Got a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. Some of it relates back to last night. Some of it is new news. In the column of things related to last night, I don't know if you all saw, I'm almost sure you guys saw this over the weekend. And let me ask you a question. The next time you hear the phrase, "Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you," let me ask you guys a question. Is this the image that is going to pop into your mind? Things that make you go, "Ah!" Yeah, Chuck Schumer's cooking. Now, this image has been roundly put around the internet. Now, this was Father's Day weekend at the Schumer household in New York City. Okay. So I'm not going to bust his chops too hard for the fact he's trying. TBA, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to scare you. I'm just saying, this was Schumer at, Father's Day celebration at his place in New York City. Apparently he's got himself a new grill. All right, cool. That's fine. But there's one thing about all of this food that you're looking at, and I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but I'll tell you one thing. If those are cooked hamburgers and then you're putting the cheese on it, his idea cooked and mine are two different things. Now, don't get me wrong. I am all about the rare steak. Matter of fact, there's a running joke whenever I go out to eat with family members of mine. I borrow this line from a movie. Someone says, "How do you want your steak prepared?" And I look at him, I go, knock the horns off of it, wipe its dirty old rear end, and just throw it on the plate. I think that line comes from the movie The Cowboy Way with Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson. But now this is a whole other animal. Look at this. Seriously, would you eat this kind of a hamburger? I ask you. This is just scary. I mean, that stuff looks positively raw. Now the hot dogs aren't so bad. It looks like he's got the hot dogs cooked relatively well, but the hamburgers, I don't know, man. It's kind of shaky right there. I'm telling you what, really shaky. But needless to say, this image caused quite a bit of stir around social media. And as you might expect, everybody was commenting on it. Well, Benny Johnson, one of our favorites here on the Electronic Front Porch, was interviewing Senator Tommy Tuberville, Republican of Alabama. And as always, give me a sound check on this. Guys, listen to this and tell me what you think, because I think this kind of commentary is absolutely hilarious.
So, last question here, Senator, because this is something that is all of the talk online and is trending across every social media platform today. And it has to do with somebody that you name dropped just 2 answers ago, Chuck Schumer. So Chuck Schumer posted a photo over the weekend of him grilling. I'm not sure you can really call it grilling. I'm not sure if you've seen this photo or not. I assume, again, given your background, college football and so on, you're familiar with a backyard grill, maybe more familiar than any of your colleagues. And Chuck Schumer, who's supposedly in charge of the Senate, is not able to grill without giving everybody salmonella here, because he's putting the cheese on the burger before it's even cooked. You can see all the raw burgers there, and he's putting the cheese on top of an uncooked burger. So, that's not a ringing endorsement for the intelligence of the Senate leader.
Well, a few minutes ago, I told you the 2 things that are lacking up here in Congress, Senate, and the House is leadership and common sense. Well, that picture right there kind of tells it all with Chuck Schumer. He's been up here forever. He's trying to show people that, hey, he's just an average guy, that goes out and cooks and all that. You can tell he's never cooked in his life. First of all, he's cooking on gas grill. In the South, we call that communism. I cook on, with regular coal and, lump coal and the applewood chips and all those things to try to smoke wood. If you're going to cook something on the gas, you might as well cook it in the house and act like you're really doing something the right way. But
yeah, I cook. Well, if you're going to cook on a gas grill, I'm from the South. That's what we call communism. That's great. Oh, my gosh. You got to love Tommy Tupperville. Now, mind you, I only have one thing against the man. He used to coach at Auburn. Now, if it weren't for that, I could get down with the guy. But, he coached at that awful school in Alabama that is not University of Alabama. He coached for Auburn. But laying that aside, he's a relatively nice guy. What can I tell you? So there you go. So, yeah, that one made the rounds over the weekend and pretty daggone, and still reverberating to now. I mean, there's nothing like a good old-fashioned meme for everyone's benefit. I tell you what, totally, absolutely funny. All right. There are some serious things going on in the news, and we definitely need to take a look at them and examine what's happening. And I tell you what, the level of palpable desperation coming from Joe Biden and members of the Biden campaign and the Democratic apparatchik is just remarkable. So much so, in fact, that Biden is basically opening the floodgates. And if y'all are wondering what I'm talking about, here's a headline from NBC News. Everybody's been carrying this all day long. So, let's talk about it. Sorry, I'm looking out the window to see see if I'm about to get dumped on in rain or I'm about to lose my power or whatever. So that, there's all that. Okay. Headline: Biden announces new policy shielding undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens from deportation. The action would shield about 500,000 immigrants living in the U.S. from deportation. This is the biggest thing since DACA, an immigration advocate said. Article written by Gabe Gutierrez, Julie Sirkin, and Julia Ainsley. We have the following. Dateline, Washington, D.C. President Joe Biden is taking executive action to protect undocumented spouses of American citizens, a move that would shield about 500,000 immigrants from deportation. The White House announced the election year policy on Tuesday, framing it as, quote, new action to keep families together. NBC News reported last week that action protecting the spouses was likely to be announced soon after urging from immigration advocates and Democrat lawmakers, and as the president courts Latino voters in crucial battleground states. Now, folks, do me a favor. Remember the last part of that sentence, as he courts Latino voters in crucial battleground states. Going back to the article, the new policy would allow non-citizens who have been in the country for at least 10 years and are married to become U.S. citizens and their children to apply for permanent residence without leaving the country. During a ceremony at the White House, Biden called the steps a common sense fix to a system that is cumbersome, risky, and separates families. He said the order would go into effect this summer and stressed that it would not benefit people who recently came into the country. Instead, it would help people who are paying taxes and contributing to our country and their family members. Quote, this is the biggest thing since DACA, said a source familiar with the matter, an immigration advocate. The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, announced by then President Barack Obama in 2012, allowed immigrants who illegally came to the U.S. as children to stay in the country. Foreshadowing the likely battles to come over the policy, the White House was keen to stress that it has been tough on unlawful border crossings and has worked to dismantle people smuggling networks. Oh, really? Okay. The president, quote, believes that securing the border is essential, it said in a news release Tuesday, outlined the new action. He also believes in expanding lawful pathways and keeping families together, and that immigrants who have been in the United States for decades, paying taxes and contributing to their communities, are part of the social fabric of the country. The statement added that the spouses eligible to apply for this have been in the U.S. for 23 years on average. The program would also make it easier for some undocumented immigrants to get a green card and a path to U.S. citizenship. Sources say that the undocumented spouses would be allowed to obtain work permits on a case-by-case basis. The action includes plans to allow DACA recipients who earned degrees in higher education and are seeking a job in that same field to move more quickly receive work visas. Republicans, including former President Trump, blasted the executive action. Speaking at a campaign rally in Wisconsin, Trump said if he's elected in November, Biden's new immigration policy will be immediately ripped up and thrown out. Quote, "It's been a nonstop catastrophe, but one of Crooked Joe's most destructive moves yet is the lawless executive action he's taken today. Under this program, a deluge of illegals will be given immediate green cards and put on a fast track to rapid citizenship so they can vote." House Speaker Mike Johnson also ripped the administration announcement, painting it as granting amnesty to hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens and saying it would incentivize more illegal immigration and endanger Americans. The new program is expected to be challenged in court. Noting the likelihood of lawsuits, Senate Majority Leader Dick Durbin, Democrat Illinois, who chairs the Judiciary Committee, said in a statement that passing legislation would be, quote, "the only action that will fully allow these deserving individuals to put down roots, start families, further their education, and continue contributing to society without fear of deportation." But he also acknowledged that getting a bill through Congress would be unlikely given Republican opposition to previous immigration overhauls. Okay, let's talk about this. Now, remember that one line from earlier in the article? As Biden works to court Latino voters, here it is. Let me put this up here a little bit larger. That he courts Latino voters in crucial battleground states. Well, let's talk about the practicality of this, and then we'll talk about the politics. You have spouses of American citizens who are here illegally. They've been here on average for, according to Biden's estimate, 23 years. On the other hand, most anything that comes out of Biden's mouth, I tend to take with a serious grain of salt. But let's just assume he's right. Let's just say, all right, they've been here more than 10 years. They're married to an American anyway. So now we're going to give them, a faster track to citizenship. Oh, but it's not going to help or benefit anybody who's just recently come across the border. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. It's not even so much anymore that I don't agree with most Democrat policy on just basic commonsensical provisions. It's just I don't trust them. My first question is, it's kind of like that old my standard line of thinking. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. The next thing I should ask, who pushed Humpty and what's in it for them? That's my question. Who's pushing Humpty and what's in it for them? The Democrats are pushing this. What's in it for them? More voters. I'm sorry. That's all this comes down to. And I hate to say it. When illegals cross the border and they're being flown around by airplanes, where are they putting them? They're putting them in Texas. They're putting them in Ohio. They're putting them in Florida. They're putting them in places that are red states. Why? They're trying to turn them Democrat. Yeah, and Robert, hang on to this thought, because you're not the only one thinking this, brother. Now let's talk about the politics. As the president courts Latino voters in crucial battleground states. Well, I got bad news for Biden. This may be too little and too late. Let me show you what I'm talking about. From the New York Post. Now listen to this. Most Hispanics now support mass deportation of illegal immigrants in the U.S. Article by Josh Christensen. We've got the following. A majority of U.S. Hispanics now support the mass deportation of migrants living in the country illegally and are evenly split on whether the Fed should create large detention centers to assist in carrying out the massive operation, according to a recent poll. A CBS News YouGov survey conducted this month shows 53% of Hispanics are in favor of kicking out all undocumented immigrants who illegally enter, and 50% support the establishment of federal holding facilities to keep migrants before deportation. Holy cow. Another 47% oppose the mass deportation plan, and 50% oppose detaining migrants as part of that process. If such a plan is implemented, 57% of Hispanics back the involvement of local law enforcement in identifying the migrants. 43% oppose such profiling. Now notice what this article doesn't say. It doesn't say white Anglo-Saxon Protestants support deporting illegals. It doesn't say African Americans support deporting illegals. It doesn't say Asians support deporting illegals. It says Hispanics, U.S. Hispanics support deporting illegals. Because stop and think about it for a second. Stop and think about this. You're an individual who migrated here, let's just say for the sake of argument, you migrated here from El Salvador. Okay? You came to the U.S. border. You requested asylum. You obeyed every law. You showed up at the immigration court when your date came up. You played by the rules. You applied for citizenship of the United States. You jumped through every hoop. In the meanwhile, you found a place to live. You got a job. You paid tax. You did everything you're supposed to do, and then you're granted citizenship, which may have taken you X amount of time, probably years. Okay? But somebody can come across the Mexican border under Joe Biden, claim they want asylum, be given a date to show up in court, never show up in court. Then they go into a city somewhere, don't even bother getting a job. And in a lot of cases, not all of them, but a lot of them, this individual is committing crime. Some of them very heinous. In some cases, they're taking the lives of American citizens. If you're the first person in my analogy, you'd be hopping mad and you'd be wanting, I want them out of here. I want them gone. I'm not surprised by this. I'm not surprised by the results of this YouGov poll. Not the slightest. Because this goes to a question of basic fairness. Here on the one hand, you have an individual who did everything I just said. They played by the rules. They did everything the U.S. government asked of them. In the meanwhile, they worked. They requested to become a citizen of the country. They did so. They passed the tests. They swore the oath. They're now citizens of the United States. And not to say every day of their life is perfect. No, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know how to walk a mile in their shoes because I've never been there before. My parents were United States citizens. I was born a United States citizen. I haven't had to go through what somebody else has had to go through, be they come from Central America or South America or anywhere else in the world. But on the other hand, I can most certainly understand them being pissed as hell watching what's going on under Joe Biden and saying, hey, no way in the world this makes any sense. And then watching the crime that's being committed. I mean, more and more every day, there are reports coming out of young women being attacked, raped, murdered. I mean, this is madness. I'm not surprised at all the Hispanics, over half of them are like, yep, deport them. Get them all out of here. Don't blame them a bit. So Trump was at a rally today in Racine, Wisconsin, and he had a response to this, and his campaign did in particular. Here is the Trump campaign's response to Biden's amnesty plan. This week, we learned an illegal alien from El Salvador who crooked Joe Biden allowed into our country murdered a mother of 5 while she was on a run in Maryland. And we learned of an illegal alien from Ecuador tied up and graped a 13-year-old girl at knife point in broad daylight. But Biden doesn't care about the American lives that will forever be destroyed by the illegal criminals he's importing, and Biden doesn't care that law-abiding taxpayers crushed by inflation are forced to pay for free food, free housing, and free health care for illegals. Biden only cares about one thing: power. And that's why he's giving mass amnesty and citizenship to hundreds of thousands of illegals who he knows will ultimately vote for him and the open-border Democrat Party. Biden's mass amnesty plan will undoubtedly lead to a greater surge in migrant crime, cost taxpayers millions of dollars they can't afford, overwhelm public services, steal Social Security and Medicare benefits from American citizens to fund benefits for illegals, draining the programs Americans have paid into their entire working lives. Biden has created another invitation for illegal immigration through this mass amnesty order. That came from the desk of Trump spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt. So yeah, we got that going on. That's a lot of fun. Oh, and by the way, the Biden brain freeze moments are continuing, but we'll get to those here in just a minute. TBA says, do the Eisenhower plan Operation Wetback. With Hispanics supporting mass deportation, Trump collects their votes. Could be. WWG1 says, the illegals make the legal Hispanics look bad. Who wants that? True. Over on YouTube. Doesn't make any logical sense unless you're willing to look at and how they maneuver all of it. Yeah. Good point. Makes no sense at all. And that's just it. It makes no sense. I mean, look, there's a lot of ways to try to get one's arms around the times in which we find ourselves. But if you boil it all down, there's one simple way of putting it. But even for its simplicity, it makes so much sense to help people understand what this fight is about. And it's this. You have a bunch of individuals on one side who are trying to determine how they think you should live your life. They're very educated. They've gone to all the right public policy schools. They've read all the right papers. They've done everything else. And they know better than you what you should do. That's why you should not have a gas stove in your house to cook on. And that's why we can produce products more cheaply if we reduce the cost of labor. Well, how do we do that? We import a bunch of workers who, we don't have to pay them as much in wages. Whereas U.S. citizens, of course, we have to pay them so much more. Okay. And these individuals who know better than you how you should live your life, are telling you about what kind of stove you should have in your house to cook on, how we can reduce your wages. They're telling you what kind of car you ought to drive, because don't you know climate change, that's bad. And then they proceed to tell you all these things. On the other side of that is common sense. On the other side of that argument is lived life experience. On the other side of that is, I know how best to organize my life because I live it every day. You don't live in my neighborhood. You don't live in my town. You don't live in my county. You don't live in my state. You don't do what I do every day for an occupation. In simpler language, shut up and leave me alone. That's what this gets down to. This has been going on for years, and it flares up in one form or another. What in the way that I have always phrased this, what you've got is supposed benevolent despotism versus individual freedom. That's what this gets down to in the end. Supposed benevolent despotism. In other words, these despots are are benevolent. They're doing all this for your own good. And if you had good sense, you'd realize, you'd listen to them because they're trying to do this for your own good. I don't understand why you're fighting us on this. And on the other side of it, you got individual freedom. It's the great tension that runs all the way back to the days of the American colonists. Whereas Parliament is trying to ram down the throats of the colonists, this is how you're going to live. You're going to pay these taxes to us. You're going to live under these laws. The American colonists, through their Continental Congress, looked at the Parliament and said, no, we are citizens. We have rights. You're stepping on them. And then finally it just got so bad, the colonies were like, we got no choice, man. It's time to leave. They've left us no option. And by the way, people do forget about this. For the better part of, call it 25, 30 years, Americans tried to get Parliament to listen to them. They tried to get King George to listen to them. They wanted to resolve this without having to do ultimately what they did. But finally they realized there's no choice left. We got to break from England. And what was it all about? Benevolent despotism under the reign of King George versus individual freedom as an American. And that's what we got here. So yeah. Hang on one second, y'all. Sorry about that. Now, we had another brain freeze moment. And Darius, welcome back, my friend. Good to have you here. We had another brain freeze moment on the part of Biden. Now, I would say this stuff is becoming more and more common. No, it's not so much it's becoming more and more common, it's becoming more and more noticeable. And in an election year, you kind of expect that to happen because everybody's paying attention to what the candidates are doing. But with Biden, it's becoming really, really pronounced. Folks, this runs about 9 seconds. The clip's not very long, but do me a favor and check it out.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure you're going to understand.
Can anybody even understand what he said after Homeland Secretary? I mean, I've tried. I really have. Y'all know how I feel about Joe Biden, but even I'm doing my best to be fair about this. But can anybody understand what he said after Homeland Secretary? Because I can't figure it out. Listen again. Here we go.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure you're going to understand.
What the heck did he say anyway? What was that? I don't know, man. I do not know. And every time this happens, well, and that's a great question too. They're looking around like, what the heck's he saying? Matter of fact, let's put this back up here. Just to go to Gypsy's point, guys, take a look at their faces. Tell me if they don't look as confused as I do.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure you're going to understand.
I mean, am I wrong? Seriously, am I wrong about this? The heck was he trying to say? It's just one more example. And TBA says Biden is going to be replaced after the DNC convention. TBA, you hold on to that, because we're going to get into a discussion from something from last night. And I've got a little bit more fleshed out about this, because the guy who wrote the article, I've got some clips from Charlie Spearing of the UK Daily Mail. And he goes on to further explain what he meant in that column, because I was hoping this would happen. So we're gonna get into this. Yeah, I don't think it was a pre-planned stunt at all. I agree with you. I don't think that what he did up there was pre-planned at all. Not in the slightest. Now, that thing that we just saw with Joe Biden is just the continuation of the ongoing debate. And certain people in the press are getting really upset about this. Matter of fact, hang on a second. I have got to find this. It'll only take me a second. I thought I had saved this for earlier. I mean, certain members of the press are getting just bent out of shape about the fact that, you know, we the simple folk out here in the world are watching this, and we're just making the mistake of believing what we see with our own eyes, our own lion eyes in their book, because it's just absolutely amazing the lengths that the press is going to right now to just somehow cover up for Joe Biden. And I mean, you know, they're not even trying to be subtle about it anymore. Hang on one sec. I am so, oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, here we go. I just found it. Good. I didn't think it would take me that long. It's gotten to the point that some members of the press are going so far out of their way to defend Biden that I got to do this. I'm putting this up here. From the Associated Press, fact focus, Biden's pause as he left a star-studded LA fundraiser becomes a target for opponents. Ladies and gentlemen, the press is fact-checking folks like you and me and anybody else that's watching him and coming to our own conclusions based on what we see with our own lion eyes. TBA, you're absolutely right. The press is turning themselves into pretzels to defend this guy. That is a great way of putting it. Absolutely great way of putting it. I mean, you gotta read this article by, who wrote this? Melissa Golden. A video from a star-studded fundraiser in LA for President Joe Biden on Saturday is circulating on social media with claims that he froze up on stage as he exited the event. Members of his campaign and administration say the Democrat president stopped to take in cheers and applause as he left a sit-down with former President Barack Obama, comedian Jimmy Kimmel, to help raise more than $30 million for his re-election campaign. A spokesman for Kimmel echoed this view. Okay. Claim: Biden froze on stage during his fundraiser in LA on Saturday night and had to be led away by Obama. Fact: Biden paused amid cheers and applause as he exited the stage with his predecessor following an interview moderated by late-night host Jimmy Kimmel. Former President Donald Trump shared a video on his social media platform, Truth Social, that showed a grainy version of Biden stopping and looking out into the audience as he departed. Is this really who you want to be president? Trump asked in the post. Now, here's the Associated Press's idea of fact-checking. Separate footage from the event provided to the Associated Press. Now, listen to who it's provided by. By Biden campaign spokesperson James Singer, shows the president waving, pointing, clapping, giving thumbs up to the audience alongside Obama while Kimmel waits off to the side. Biden then stands there for about 7 seconds looking out into the crowd. He starts moving again when Obama briefly takes his arm and puts his hand on his back as the pair walk off stage. So let me get this straight. You don't like the fact that guys like me and folks like y'all who are in my audience, you folks out there at the Associated Press or the mainstream media, you don't like the fact that folks like all of us can look at this and come to our own conclusions. You don't like it so much that you have to insult our intelligence by fact-checking us and trying to prove that we're so stupid we don't know what we see with our own eyes, and that if it weren't for you, we wouldn't know, anything. Really? This is how badly you guys are going about trying to defend Joe Biden and all this. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, guys. Let's do this. I've got the video right here, okay? It's 21 seconds. So, y'all tell me. I'll let you watch it for yourself, and you tell me. Here's Obama off to the right. There's Biden. Kimmel's right behind Biden. Okay? Tell me what this looks like to you. I'm sorry. I saw Barack Obama take Joe Biden by the wrist, turn him around, put his hand into his back, and lead him off stage. That's a 20-second clip. That is in context. Now, like I said, if you guys, and I mean this, if you guys think I'm wrong, tell me. And I'm not saying that as a suck-up line. Tell me. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But I'm sorry. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Just for the sake of being totally fair here. Okay? Biden is just standing there. He's frozen. I'm sorry. I'll even back it up a little bit. Here it is at, the 5-second mark. All right, Biden starts waving. Then all of a sudden he just stops and stands still. He's not moving. He's not looking at anybody. Then Obama turns him around, moves him off stage. Now, I said there's a lot of people in the press who are really getting bent out of shape about this. Well, there's also a part of the press that are defending their actions and the way they're reporting this. Bret Baier of Fox News is on this morning with Stuart Varney of Fox Business Network. And I want you to hear the exchange that they get into about this, okay? Do me a favor, check this out. I think you guys are going to find this really interesting.
What we do on this program is we let the tape speak for itself. That is not manipulation. I think we're doing the right thing.
Stuart, good morning. I think you're right. We have not edited that tape. We have not edited any of these tapes. We have not sped them up. We have not changed them. We have not seen any change in multiple angles of the same video moment. It was not a deep fake for the former president to grab the president's arm and pull him. That actually happened in person. So there's nothing fake about it. There's nothing fake about the Italian prime minister grabbing the president as he turned around in Italy and gave a thumbs up to another a skydiver. But he pulled away from the group and the Italian prime minister brought him back in. There's nothing fake about him not dancing at the Juneteenth ceremony at the White House and seeming being frozen. Those are all things that happened. So for the White House to say that this is a deep fake or a cheap fake is really interesting. And I think it's a moment, Stuart, that tells you how concerning the issue of age and competency is in the polls that they're looking at.
Precisely.
I have nothing personally against Bret Baier. And I'm not saying that to set up some kind of complaint. My point is this. I think Brett Baer is probably one of the most even-handed people at Fox News. I don't exactly like the network he's working for, but you know what? I got nothing against Brett Baer, but his point is completely valid. News outlets like Fox News or One America Network or Newsmax or Breitbart or anybody, nobody's speeding this thing up. They're just letting people see it and make their own conclusion. Exactly. Our own eyes saw it. But on the other hand, the Biden regime lives by this statement right here from George Orwell. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. Well, I think it's a commandment that millions of Americans are starting to break, and thank God. African Americans are breaking that command. Hispanics are breaking that command. The young are breaking that command. The old are breaking that command. However, Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary for the White House, has a solution to this problem that, she thinks is going to work for everybody to kind of resolve the issues. And, maybe it will work, maybe it won't work, but you know what? For the sake of being fair with you, my audience, I always believe that we should always try to present both sides of the argument. So here is Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary for the White House, her solution to this problem of cheap fakes and deep fakes. So, folks, please give your attention to this very hardworking press secretary. Let's see what she has to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here. Okay, so you did not see Biden wandering around aimlessly, freezing up, shitting himself, sniffing dignitaries, falling asleep, drinking drug cocktails, and frisking serving girls? What you actually saw were cheap fakes. It's like a deep fake, but it's just the real video that we don't want people to see. Oh, and I am a black lesbian.
Okay, well, there you go. We now have a solution, and I want to thank Karine Jean-Pierre. That is a succinct, fantastic presentation. Really, that's all we got to do. We just got to make sure we keep looking at her, and if we just happen to see this flash of light, and then all of a sudden for a few seconds we're going, huh? What is that? No, nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about at all. Okay? All right. Let me do a real quick commercial before we shift gears. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. This, if you just happen to stop by, is Chattin on the Porch. We get together at Monday through Thursday, 7:30 Eastern. We talk about the news. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube, that quaint little alternative social media platform. And if you wouldn't mind, please do me some favors. Please hit the thumbs up button. I would genuinely appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to my channels on Rumble and YouTube, I'd greatly appreciate it. We just recently crossed over 200 subscribers on Rumble, which I think is just totally awesome. And I would love, love, love to grow these channels to just huge numbers on both sides. So please, if you're not a subscriber, I'd really appreciate it. Also, share the link around. I know that the regulars who come in here on the Electronic Front Porch are very gracious to do that for me, and it's always appreciated. But if you're new here and you've got friends and you think to yourself, hey, my buddy might want to hear this, feel free to share the link. I'm not going to object in the slightest. I'd love to have you and your friends as part of Fedora Nation. So there you go. All right, let's see what people are saying in chat. WWG1 says, this is very realistic. Wouldn't it be something if all politicians we see are also deep fakes? What would that imply? I don't know if that would necessarily speak too well for us, the American voter, but, I get it. Lot to be said here. Now, let us shift gears ever so slightly, and I want to go back to something from last night that I touched on, and I read a lot of the article, and I thought, no, this really can't be true. It just makes no sense. But it's definitely worth it's definitely worth talking about again. And it's a headline from the UKDailyMail.com. Secret Democrat plot to replace Biden revealed how Clinton, Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer would topple the aging president and when they would do it. And the article is written by a gentleman named Charlie Spearing. Now, I've seen Charlie Spearing's writing before, okay? And I'm seeing him mostly at Daily Mail, the UK Daily Mail. What I did not know until today is he is a alumnus of Breitbart. He used to write at Breitbart.com. Well, when this article came out the other day, and if you haven't read it yet, matter of fact, let me just do you guys a favor right now. I'm going to put this once again. I will put this in Rumble chat and YouTube chat, and you can look at this article at your convenience. When I first saw this article and we went through it last night, I took it as more of a, well, theoretically, this is what could happen. Well, the author of the article, Charlie Spearing, gave an interview today to Steve Bannon, who Bannon used to be his boss over at Breitbart. And Charlie fleshes out this article a little more in depth. And I was rather surprised to find out what Charlie Spearing wrote about in this article is not a theoretical discussion. He has been talking to people all up and down through the Democrat Party. And what he found out was so credible, number one, and number two, so extraordinarily interesting that he wrote it up in an article. And the Daily Mail went through its normal, fact-checking processes. Hey, are you sure about this? Are you sure? Have you got your sources? Are you nailed down on this one? Have you got it? Charlie's like, yeah, I've got it. They're like, okay, we'll print it. And basically what this goes through is a step-by-step process of what would happen if elements inside the Democrat Party were to replace Joe Biden. Now, let me add a caveat right now before this goes any further. I still hold to the position that the Democrats are stuck with Joe Biden. I still believe they're going to go through with it all the way to November. And I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. And I say that based on two things. It's like I talked about the other night. Number one, campaigns are built around the candidate. You just cannot pull one person out and plug in somebody else like you're changing the fuses in a breaker box. Okay? And number two is you do that now with the bench that the Democrats have behind them, the electoral wipeout could be even bigger than they may suffer if Joe Biden remains on the ticket. Okay? So I personally do not think this is going to happen. However, all things in the universe are possible. And Charlie Spearing goes into great detail explaining what would cause it to happen, who would be involved in making it happen, and everything like that. So with that said, that sets up some video clips I want to play for you guys. Okay? And the first one is a question of what's happening here? Why is this happening? And, what is making Democrats wail and gnash their teeth as hard as they are related to Joe Biden? So this is Steve Bannon on his show called War Room. And he's interviewing Charlie Spearing, the author of this article at the UK Daily Mail. I want you to hear this. This runs about a minute and a half, but I'm not really going to interrupt it. I want you guys to listen to this, and we'll talk about it after we're done. So here's the clip.
Overnight, every one of their core demographics, there's a huge part of that that's just running away from them, as Harry Enton says. That's what's driven the factions that really control the Clintons, the Obamas, the Pelosi factions, these factions that are savvy and do their own polling have seen what's happening here, and now they can't deny it?
Yeah, I talked to a lot of Democrats for about a month, and a month ago they weren't very concerned. They still were towing the line, and as the time gets closer and closer, there's more and more concerns within the party. That's part of the reason why the Democratic Party moved up this debate to June. They want to get it up ahead in advance. They want to get people out there. They want to get Biden out there. They want to prove that he can at least fully complete a debate. Look, his guys are out there right now already predicting that he's going to lose. Obama's people are lowering the bar. Exactly. They're saying Joe Biden's going to lose the first debate. The incumbent president always loses the first debate. They point to Obama. Remember when Obama first debated Romney? Yeah. Well, it was considered a huge loss for Obama. And so, Democrats are out there right now saying if Trump shows up, Biden won't win because the incumbent president never wins. So they're just setting the bar really low for Biden. But at the same time, they want him on stage. They want him to complete a debate because they want to convince their voters that this is the big test. If he can complete a debate, no one should be afraid. No one should be doing the replacement. But behind the scenes, there's still a plan for replacement. If he makes a major gaffe during this debate or can't complete it, can't even finish the debate or has a major brain freeze moment, which is quite possible.
Okay, let's talk about this first one for a second. I don't doubt at all that the Democrats are lowering the expectations on this debate, which is a common tactic, by the way. Okay, I can remember going back to 2000 that not so much George W. Bush's campaign, but the press, unintentionally, by the way, unintentionally lowered the bar for George W. Bush, that when he went into a debate with Al Gore, who Al Gore was at the time regarded as one of the finest debaters in the Democrat Party, although that tag that's put on Al Gore is totally undeserved. And then if occasion allowed it, I'll go into a reason why it's undeserved. But the point is, the press was saying, George Bush, he's just a governor. He has no gravitas. He has no real world experience. He has no experience on the world stage. And they kept making George Bush sound like an enormous dummy. And then when he went into the debates with Gore, he came out looking fine. Why? Because the press unintentionally lowered the threshold that W had to get over to look like a very successful and competent debater against Al Gore. Well, in this case, it's slightly different. It's the Biden campaign and the Democrats that are trying to lower the expectation. Okay? Look, everybody knows how a first debate goes for an incumbent president. Joe's going to lose, yada, yada, yada. Okay? So I don't necessarily begrudge the Biden campaign or even the Democrat Party in general for the strategy that they're pursuing. That said, there is a problem. Right now, a lot of people, including rank and file Democrats, are pretty well convinced, or at least let's put it this way, about a third of Democrats right now are convinced Joe Biden can't string two sentences together without screwing it up. Okay? If you lower the expectations down on this guy and say, oh man, hey, look, he's not going to win the first debate. Okay, that's one thing. But if he doesn't win the first debate, and let's say he has some verbal gaffes or brain freezes or whatever, are you not setting him up, or maybe put it this way, are you not allowing to be set in motion the very events that Charlie Spearing is writing about? You get what I'm saying? In other words, okay, you've lowered the expectation for Biden. Fine, I get that. But one or two verbal gaffes, let's say he has a big one, or let's just say little stuff. Nothing actually major. And there's Trump on the other side, just very calmly, just standing there. He's not interrupting him. He's not doing anything by design, by the way. And let's just say Biden stumbles his way through the debate. Okay, you've lowered the bar so low that one wrong gaffe, one wrong word, one wrong anything, and you're liable to have set in motion the very thing Charlie Spearing's talking about. Which gets us to clip number 2. And it's not just Biden that the Democrats are worried about. It's also his vice president. Folks, do me a favor, check this out and tell me what you think.
Sourcing.
Yeah, Democrats are privately very concerned about Biden, and they're also very concerned about Kamala Harris. The same ones I talked to for the book are also very concerned about Kamala Harris because they don't think that Kamala can step in and take his place. And this is something that behind the scenes, this is something the party talks about. They will not talk about it in public because they don't want to be branded as, racist, sexist, and also now ageist, right? With Biden, they just don't want to be on the wrong side. And very few Democrats are saying anything publicly at this point.
Okay. No, Zippy, don't worry about it. You're good. You're good. You're all right. We love you. See, this is one of the reasons why I don't think the Democrats will get rid of Biden. What do you do about Kamala Harris? First of all, and take this in the spirit which I intended when I say this, she's a woman and she's black. Well, they're claiming she's black. She's not really black. But she's a woman and they're claiming that she's black. Okay, if you get rid of Biden, the natural presumption is that Kamala steps up to lead the Democrat Party in 2024. But if you're the Democrat leadership behind the scenes, can you possibly let that happen? Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. Thank you very much, sir. I'm late. I am late. The Hatter won't share his shroom tea now. Okay. What kind of tea you're drinking and where you're getting it from, I have no idea. Thank you for the Rumble rant, but do not worry about it. We still love you. But this is the problem with getting rid of Joe Biden. What do you do about Kamala Harris? The Democrat Party leadership, and I'm talking about old school people here, okay? We're talking about people who've been around for a long time. We're talking about people that, they're not, necessarily ideologues, although they are ideologically liberal. We're talking about pragmatic, hey, let's keep the machinery working good. Let's keep on winning elections. Let's keep on, keeping things moving forward here. They can't afford to let Kamala Harris become the standard bearer for the Democrat Party head-to-head against Trump. They can't. Look, most people don't think Biden can put two sentences together, and they're pretty sure that his brains have turned into succotash. But Kamala Harris is like, a laughing hyena in heels, okay? That woman's cackle could not only raise the dead, it scares children. She's horrible. She's dumber than a box of rocks. If brains were gasoline, she wouldn't have enough to fill up a pissant's go-kart and run it around a small Cheerio just once. That's how lacking of something upstairs she is. They can't possibly let her be the nominee if Joe is removed. But on the other hand, if he is removed, what do you do with her? WWG1 says, a hyena in heat, you mean? Well, that ain't too far off from the truth either. But I mean, what do you do with this woman? You get rid of Joe, she's going to want to become the nominee. What are you going to do? Remove Joe and put the political knife in her back? How do you do it? I will never forget, and forgive me here, but I got to go back in time a little bit. When Joe was trying to figure out who he wanted for his vice presidential candidate, he floated her name to one of his best friends, the former U.S. Senator from Connecticut, Chris Dodd. And Chris Dodd told Joe Biden, don't do it. Do not pick her. She will stab you in the back. She's a big mistake. Don't do it. He did it anyway. Now, no one will ever be able to prove it, but I have a very sneaking suspicion that the reason Joe Biden took Kamala Harris was his insurance policy. In other words, I know there's a portion of the Democratic Party that doesn't like me, but they'll never remove me because they know they could get her. You get rid of me, you're stuck with Kamala, which is kind of almost the same line of thinking that's going into who Donald Trump should pick as his vice presidential nominee. In his case, Trump needs literal life insurance, if you know what I mean. Just saying, okay? TBA says if the DNC takes Harris as the nominee, I'll laugh. Well, I got bad news for you. I got bad news for you, TBA. They're not going to take Kamala Harris. They are not going to take her. On the other hand, please, let's have her as the nominee. It's too much entertainment. Yeah, it would be. It would. It would be a laugh a minute to have her as the Democrat nominee. But yeah, you remove Joe. What do you do with Kamala? So that gets us to the proposed solution in theory about how to solve this problem, right? Because y'all have heard, all right? Y'all have heard this one. Okay, we'll get Michelle Obama to run. If we can get Michelle, our problems are solved. We'll be okay. It's all good. Well, Charlie Spearing has been talking to people inside the Democrat Party, and if Democrats are holding out hope of getting Michelle Obama as the nominee, and that's who's going to replace Joe Biden, well, Charlie Spearing's about to throw cold water on that idea. Do me a favor, check this out.
You were very specific that there's no love lost between the Obamas and Biden, and particularly there's no love lost between Michelle Obama and Joe Biden.
Right. Michelle Obama is not a huge fan of the Bidens. There's no personal connection there. Sure that she's friendly, but there's a big reason why they're keeping her out of sight and why she's keeping out of sight. She does not want to be with the Bidens, and she doesn't. There's two factions. She doesn't want to be with the Bidens. Number two, she doesn't want to be anywhere near the White House because she knows the moment she does, that's when the base starts raising their eyes and being like, why can't we have Michelle as our candidate instead of Joe? So that's why Michelle has essentially gone into hiding at this point.
Now, that's interesting on so many different levels. It's been said for the longest time that Barack Obama never had that much respect for Joe Biden. And I can't say I'm surprised by that, because you got to stop and consider. Barack Obama represents a wing and a generation of the Democrat Party that is separate from Joe. What am I talking about? Joe Biden came of age politically in the late 60s and the early 70s. Okay. I mean, to give you an idea of how long Joe Biden has been a part of the American political scene, think about this. Joe Biden was elected to the United States Senate when Richard Milhous Nixon was president of the United States. Joe Biden has served with or under Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Poppy Bush, Clinton, W, Obama, Trump. 9 different presidents. 50 plus years. You're absolutely right. 50 plus years in American politics, 9 American presidents that Joe Biden has served with in the course of his political life. Joe Biden comes from an era of Democrat politics that is big city, big machine. Okay? Joe Biden comes from an era of American politics that is conversationally transactional. You got to remember that Joe Biden did most of his business politically in the U.S. Senate. That's built on relationships and conversations. Okay. And I agree. Well, yeah, I understand he is an unrepentant racist. I mean, there's a lot of comments Joe Biden's made over the years that would prove how much of a racist he is. But when Obama was trying to figure out who he wanted for the Veep, he picked Joe Biden. Why? Number one, Barack Obama had not been in Washington, D.C. that long. Remember, Barack Obama was elected to the U.S. Senate in 2004. He won the presidency in 2008. All right. Oh, it is Milhouse? Okay, I thought it was Milhouse. My apologies. Milhouse Nixon. Barack Obama needed somebody with experience on Capitol Hill. Joe Biden had relationships with everybody in the U.S. Senate and a bunch of people in the U.S. House, including Nancy Pelosi, who becomes very important in Charlie Spearing's article, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But for all the reasons why Barack Obama picked Joe Biden's brains or his common sense had nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, if you go back to 2020, remember Barack Obama's great quote, "Never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to fuck something up." That's Obama's quote, not mine. Although I can't say as I disagree with Barack Obama on that statement. Barack Obama picked Joe Biden because he was useful, not because he respected him, not because he considered him a brother in arms, not because of any other reason. Hey, if I got to get something done on Capitol Hill, I'll send Joe up there to do it. And how many times through 2009 through 2017 did Obama dispatch Joe Biden to go talk to Mitch McConnell or House Republicans or anybody else? And Joe managed to get stuff done. Why? Because he knew the language of Capitol Hill. I mean, everybody talks about the accomplishments of Barack Obama, but you know what? Obama people will probably get mad at me for saying this, but a lot of that is owed to the fact that Joe Biden had relationships with people in Congress. I don't agree with the results they got, but let's be honest, Joe Biden helped get a lot of that stuff through because he knew who to talk to and he knew how to do it. Okay? But Barack Obama's never had any great love for Joe Biden. And apparently, Michelle feels much the same way about the Bidens, Joe and Jill. Okay? So I'm not necessarily surprised that Michelle Obama doesn't want to run. Okay? But there's a faction of the Democrat Party that's like, we can get Michelle. We can get Michelle. It's not going to happen. She doesn't want to do it. Okay? As Rich Barris rightfully points out, the only way she would do it is if it would be a coronation. Very little work. She just shows up, throws out her arms, like, vote for me. Here I am. I am your goddess. And the country just goes, whoa! It just falls all over themselves voting for, the first black woman for president. Ain't going to happen, folks. So if it's not Michelle Obama, and it's not going to be Kamala, that sort of begs the question. Let's assume for a moment that what Charlie Spearing is reporting is correct. Okay? The conversations either have been had, are currently being had. They are trying to figure out how to do it, or they've got the plan in place. Okay? What would the mechanics look like And exactly how would it work? Well, that gets us to our next clip, and this one runs about 2 minutes, but every bit of it's gold. Okay. Charlie got the receipts on this one, so check it out.
Into hiding at this point.
Walk through the mechanics. Because you make and you use your book as a reference, you talk about there's major big power players, the big donors, consultants, advisor that are now jiggy and are thinking we may have to make a move. And how do we do that? You then make the case that Kamala Harris is not an automatic step up because her numbers are worse than Biden's, and not just that, she can't own the space. She can't step up and own a debate with Trump. Where do you go from there? You got Whitmer, you got Newsom, but everybody's going to immediately pivot to Michelle Obama. Am I wrong on that?
I think that right now Democrats have sort of effectively shut down the Michelle Obama solution. That's the problem, though, because there's so many different factions with so many different choices that want their picks. And, when these ideas are backed by donors are going to come out and say which candidate they want. So there's no candidate selected at this point. But what it's going to take a Nancy Pelosi, a Chuck Schumer, a Bill Clinton, and a Chuck Schumer, Bill Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, all four of them united together and come to Joe Biden and say,
you say
time
this
to step
and
down.
that the people you're talking to, those factions, including Schumer, are going to have a united front and come to Biden. It's like Abe Vigoda in the Godfather, right? That guy who brings the messages. So they're going to have a united
Pelosi
front.
Pelosi is a key figure in this because Pelosi is 100% behind Joe Biden at this point. Pelosi's 83. She views Joe Biden as a kid. That's what she said publicly. She's 100% in Biden's camp right now. Obama, as he demonstrated on the stage, clearly has his concerns. Bill Clinton, he's not necessarily wed to one side or the other, and Schumer is going to do whatever the party wants him to do. So that's the way the Democratic Party works. It's a very top-down party. There's not going to be any sort of grassroots revolt to demand a replacement. It's going to be top-down.
Now, this is fascinating. Let's talk about this for a minute. Assuming that what Charlie Spearing is getting from Democrats is correct. In other words, he's got the straight scoop. Think about the internal dynamics of everything he just said. You've got four major players in the Democrat Party. You've got Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Clinton makes sense because there is a certain wing of the Democrat Party that's still extremely loyal to him. They look to him for advice and answers. He's a former president. He's kind of a given Jimmy Carter's current physical and mental conditions, obviously, and the fact that Carter's been retired from politics for so long now, Bill Clinton is sort of looked upon as, the father figure of the Democrat Party. And then you got Schumer, who represents, big city New York Democrats, that sort of thing. Now think about all this. Nancy Pelosi could be the key to this whole thing. Now, just think about this for a second. And it does make sense. Remember what I've been saying about this election. It's generational. Okay? I mean, you heard what Charlie Spearing just said. She's 83, Biden's 81, but she calls him the kid. 2 years difference, but she looks upon him as the kid. Same generation, same everything else about them. But she looks upon him as the kid. And she's 100% with Biden, according to Spearing's reporting. Basically, what Nancy Pelosi would be in this situation is what Barry Goldwater was in 1974 to Richard Nixon. Now, think about this for a second. If you think back in time, the height of the Watergate crisis, in August of 74, Barry Goldwater, along with Hugh Scott, the Senate Minority Leader, and John Rhodes, the House Minority Leader, went up to the Oval Office and basically gave Nixon the news, Mr. President, you've lost the Congress. If the House votes on articles of impeachment, you won't be able to stop it. But John Rhodes could have told him that, and it wouldn't have mattered. Hugh Scott could have told Nixon that, and it wouldn't have mattered. But the fact that it was Barry Goldwater who got nose to nose with Richard Nixon and said, "Sir, you've lost the Republican Party, and more importantly, you've lost me," that's the moment that Richard Nixon sat up and took notice. Okay? Nancy Pelosi, in this case, would be to Joe Biden what Barry Goldwater was to Richard Nixon. That one person that if she's the one that comes to Biden and says this, Biden's going to go, "Oh, crap." Coming from Bill Clinton, whatever. Coming from Barack Obama, maybe. Schumer, whatever. I got to deal with you. You're transactional. But coming from one of my best friends in the Congress. The other part that I found interesting about this comment from Spearing is how each person would do it. Okay? Or let me rephrase that. How or why? And TBA asks a great question. If Biden's the puppet, who's the puppet master? It could very well, I argue it's Obama. Because think about what Spearing just said. Nancy Pelosi, if she had to do this, it would be personal for her. It would. I really do believe, if Spearing is right, it would break Nancy Pelosi's heart to be the person to walk up to Joe Biden and go, "Joe, you can't run for re-election. You can't do it." I really do believe it. If Spearing is right, it would break her heart. Now, Obama, on the other hand, to him, this has nothing to do with emotion. This has to do with, hey, we got to keep this thing going. We're trying to transform the country here. Okay? I can't let anything interfere with that. If he's gonna do it, it's gonna be for reasons of ideology and keeping the movement alive. Okay? Clinton is not gonna care. He's got no dog in the hunt one way or the other, according to Spearing, which I can see that. I mean, he's happy in retirement up there in Chappaqua. When Hillary's not around, he's probably bringing in 3 or 4 women a day. Who knows? I mean, And Schumer's going to go along with whatever the other 3 want to do. The dynamics of that relationship between the 4 of them are really incredible. But in the end, it would be Pelosi and Obama who would be driving this thing. Schumer's just going to go along with it, and Clinton's not going to care. Okay? So, yeah, if this happens, it would be fascinating. But that gets us to our last clip. What would cause it to happen? Okay, before we do that, let me get caught up here on chat. I think generally, probably in terms of generations, control and influence and wealth is there. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but okay, I can see where you're coming from. Maybe it's better to say it's Obama's people. Maybe that's more accurate. But I can absolutely see that. That's true too. Had not thought about that. So if this were to happen, what triggers this to go down? In other words, what's that moment that puts it in motion and the proverbial plot against Caesar goes into effect? Well, Charlie Spearing's got a theory on that one. Do me a favor, check out this last clip. Here we go.
And your belief is that it will take a debate performance next week where President Trump demonstrably beats Joe Biden. That's when they break the glass and something has to happen.
Right. Yeah, like Biden can even lose the debate, which is what they're setting up. But if it's a disaster debate, if it's a clear aged moment for Joe Biden on the debate stage, then that's when they pull the trigger and start that's when they start having tough conversations with Jill Biden, the caretaker, Dr. Jill,
because she's a key player here.
Right.
She would have to be on board.
Right.
as the Daily Mail looks at it, you guys put up a lot of analysis of other people's polls, but I think you also do your own polling. As you see it right now, is this Trump's? Where do you put this as far as polling goes and crosstabs and groups, as you see it nationally and in the battleground states?
Well, absolutely. The polls show, a slight edge for Trump at this point. And if Trump performs at this debate and succeeds, then he's absolutely got a chance to sort of bring even more people behind him. Look.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that one point. Jill Biden is also key in this as well. Because you can make an argument that Jill Biden is the one that's driving Joe's bid to be reelected. If they can just get him past the next 4 months, get him past Trump one more time, she's set. They're set. Hunter is free. Everybody's free and clear. They will have pulled it off. 50 plus years in American politics, and they finally got the gold ring, and no one can ever take it away from them again. Really? Even on the question of him running for re-election. Really? Okay. You might be absolutely right. You might be absolutely right. But I think she serves more of a caretaker role than maybe we all realize. Okay. Again, you could be absolutely right. You could. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I really do think she serves as the watcher over her husband. And maybe even more so than just the concerned spouse. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. That woman is just as political. That woman is just as political as Joe Biden is. He just happens to be the face. Look, and it's nothing for first ladies over the years to have tremendous influence over their husbands. I just happen to think she goes a step further. It's not just a matter of influence. Man, you got to get past Jill to get certain things done with Joe. And like I said, I could be totally wrong. I'm not there, but I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Zippy says Jill's either a puppet or a puppet master. We'll see. We will see. I have heard Jill Biden speak a few times. She's not real good. You're absolutely right on that point. You're absolutely right. But yeah, this debate, this is why I'm saying, Trump better not take this debate lightly. He screws up this debate. When I say Trump could screw up this debate, here's what I'm talking about. If Trump acts like normal, let me phrase that. If Trump performs in this debate as he has on certain occasions, and I'm thinking of the very first debate that he had with Joe Biden, constantly interrupting, constantly talking over him, yada, 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 then he's going to screw it up. Joe will get the sympathy vote. Now, interestingly, I'll just throw this out here. Interestingly, CNN may be getting ready to help Trump win this debate. Everybody in the media is talking about, oh man, CNN's got the power to push the button and cut off somebody's microphone. CNN is going to enforce the rules. They're going to enforce the time limits. They're going to everything else. This is going to screw Trump over. What if, as opposed to messing over Trump, they wind up messing up Joe Biden? In other words, look, I think a lot of people, and I'm one of them for what it's worth, I say, let Joe Biden talk. Now, I also think a lot of people are absolutely right, including Trump. They're going to pump him full of something. He's going to be up for this debate. He will not be, he'll be much like he was at the State of the Union. If I'm Trump, just be cool, answer your questions, make the points you want to make. When the occasion allows for it and Joe steps on something or leaves an opening, take advantage of it. But don't try to talk over Joe. Just be presidential. If he does that, Trump not only could win this debate, if Joe tries too hard and pushes it too much, he's gonna look like he's trying too hard and pushing it too much. He just might wind up messing up himself. And CNN, because of the way they're going to enforce the rules, are actually going to wind up helping Trump. So we'll see. Do I see any reason why the debate would not happen? No. I don't. Look, Trump's agreed to it. Biden's agreed to it. Everybody's agreed to the rules of the debate. Although I do agree with Rich Barris, I think Trump agreed to that debate way too fast. He should have played it for better terms. But okay, fine. You want to debate Biden? Debate Biden then. But I cannot see any reason for this debate not happening. I mean, look, let's assume for a moment, just for the sake of argument, that Joe Biden, for whatever reason, let's just assume for just 1 second that Joe Biden has a legitimate medical reason for pulling out of this debate. He gets the flu. He gets a stomach virus, food poisoning, whatever, okay? If he pulls out of that debate, the perception of Biden is going to sink in even more. He's an old man that doesn't want to go toe-to-toe with Trump. He's an old man. He's tired. He's worn out. He physically can't do it. And they've invented a reason why they had to cancel the debate. Okay? TBA, I saw your note. Have a good night, and I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. And hit that thumbs up on the way out, brother. I can't. Biden is not going to back out of this now. Now, be careful here. Be careful. Be very careful. See, and I'm just as guilty of this, Darius. I'm just as guilty of this. I think Joe Biden's brains have turned into absolute succotash. Okay? He can't string two sentences together. I'm telling you, this guy is going to be hyped up for this thing like Rocky Balboa taking on Mr. T in the second fight. Okay? I'm telling you. He's going to come out of the corner swinging. Trump needs to just basically be cool, relax, answer your questions, make your points. Yeah, and Gypsy, I agree with both of you. He's going to take a few hits after this debate. But depending on the manner in which he conducts himself in the debate, may lessen the amount of hits that Trump takes. Okay. Like I say, we'll see. The debate is next Thursday night. It's a week from Thursday, 9:00 Eastern. It's going to be here on my channel. Ruben Christopher Haynes is going to be hosting it with me. Got a few other people. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch. Very interesting. And with that, folks, going to have to call it a night. So want to thank you guys for once again stopping by the Electronic Front Porch for a session of chatting. We will be back tomorrow. Happy Juneteenth to all of you that will be celebrating the holiday, or maybe it's better to say your employer is giving you the day off. I hate to rub this in. I am going to have the day off. I will be enjoying it. So we'll be back here. I'll be back here 7:30 tomorrow night. Of going to have some more stuff to talk about. And in the meanwhile, you guys have a great rest of your evening. We're gonna be having fun. And oh, that you know, I thought about this, but you're right. You're absolutely right. You want to bet they won't have? Yeah. Somebody needs to be asking for this. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern. So I want to thank you guys for stopping by. As always, it's great to have you guys here. And come on back tomorrow night at 7:30. Bring some friends with you. We'll hang out. We'll talk about some more. We're counting down to some pretty big events. The big one's coming up on Thursday, so just keep your eyes and ears open. Oh, in that vein, I didn't talk about tonight, but we'll get into this tomorrow evening. Did you guys know that there is fence being put up in front of the Supreme Court right now? I kid you not. Matter of fact, hang on one second. I'll find this real fast. Give me 1 second here, because I saw the pictures the other night. And this will be a tease for tomorrow evening. Because like I say, there's some big stuff coming down. If I can find it here real fast. Yep. Let me see. Come on. Yep, here it is. I got it. This will be the tease for tomorrow night. They're already putting fences up in front of the United States Supreme Court. And when that happens, that usually means the court's about to hand down something that's pretty heavy. So we'll talk about this tomorrow night, among other things. Well, yeah. It's what they're about to rule on, and if it's what I think it is, they're anticipating, they're going to get some heat for this. So they're trying to get out in front of it. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30. We'll be talking about this. We'll be talking about a whole bunch of other things. In the meanwhile, I love you guys. Thank you for stopping by. I genuinely do appreciate it. Gypsy, you tagged me on something. I will respond to that and just give you my thoughts on it. So just be on the lookout. But I saw it. I'll try and answer it. But anyway, you guys have a great night. I love you. We'll talk to you later. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30.